Hey friends, welcome back to the channel. Today we are talking about 5 mistakes that procrastinators make. These are mistakes that I've been making a lot when it comes to various things I'm procrastinating on, and I thought I'd share them with you. The first one is not appreciating the difference between real procrastination and fake procrastination. So, what is fake procrastination? Fake procrastination is where we think and we tell ourselves that we're procrastinating from something, but actually what's just happening is that we are just simply prioritizing things a little bit differently. Now, a lot of times people will be like, oh, I want to start a YouTube channel, but I keep procrastinating from it. But you're only procrastinating from it if you physically have the time to do it, and if you actually want to do the thing. And in that context, you've got the time and you want to do it. At that point, that's real procrastination. But if, for example, you're working full-time or you're a full-time student and you want to exercise an hour a day and you want to spend 3 hours a day with your family and you want 8 hours of sleep a night, you literally don't have any hours in your day to then start a YouTube channel. So that's just about prioritization rather than procrastination. And so what I find is that I often weirdly tell myself I'm procrastinating as a way of sort of flagellating myself, beating myself up. But it's kind of a bit pointless. It's just prioritization. And the solution I found to this is it doesn't count as procrastination unless I have a block in my calendar for the thing. If I don't have a block in my calendar for the thing, then great, that's fine. I've chosen not to prioritize that in my life. But as soon as I do have the block of time in my calendar, i.e. go to the gym between 6 and 7 p.m. and then I'm still choosing to not go to the gym even though I've made the time for it, at that point that's real procrastination. So I think it's important to understand the difference between those two things so that we don't unnecessarily beat ourselves up. Speaking of unnecessarily beating ourselves up, that brings me on to mistake number 2, which is a mistake that, again, procrastinators tend to make, including me, which is that we have a tendency to beat ourselves up. Procrastination, I've been doing a bunch of research on this for the book that I'm writing. It's actually like an evolutionarily useful mechanism. Like, what is procrastination? Procrastination is where we generally have a short-term bias. We're not doing something that is going to be in our long-term interests. We tend to do stuff that's short-term better for us instead. And this makes sense evolutionarily because, like, self-actualization, working on this thing that's going to pay off 10 years from now, in caveman days where you could be eaten by a tiger, is not particularly helpful. Like, our evolutionary ancestors really had to optimize for being in the present moment and for the short-term gains. If we beat ourselves up for doing this thing, it's a very, very natural phenomenon. And actually procrastination is useful in that it allows us to conserve energy and to not spend that energy and time and effort and resources on things that might not necessarily be worth it to us. One mistake I tend to make is to just not recognize this and think when I'm procrastinating that I am a bad person. But what I found helpful to think about is that when I'm procrastinating, it's fine. It's fine. This is just what my evolutionary past has kind of designed me to do. I can then choose to exert higher control over that by creating systems and various other things we're going to talk about in this video. But I don't need to flagellate myself for it. And I think mostly a big part of why procrastination is a struggle for so many of us, including me, is that we have this tendency to beat ourselves up. And so I try my best to try and avoid that, even though it doesn't always work. All right, mistake number 3 that we as procrastinators make is that we press the try harder button. What is the try harder button? The try harder button is when we think, okay, I know I'm procrastinating from X and I just need to do it. I just need to try harder. I just need to be more disciplined. I just need to ... Where we put the onus on ourselves to put in the effort to do the thing. I'm procrastinating from, I don't know, writing my book, like whatever. The solution, I just need to sit down and do it. Or I'm procrastinating from doing my essay that's due 2 weeks from now. I just need to sit down and do it. Whenever I find myself saying, I just need to ... and the answer to that is I need to try harder. I need to press the try harder button. Shout out to my friend Neil Nanda for the tip on there. Whenever I'm pressing the try harder button, it's just not going to work. Again, I'm sort of working against my evolutionary past. I'm working against my human psychology to just think that I'm just going to try harder. I think this applies to life in general. Like, if your solution to a problem is you are just going to try harder, that's not a sustainable way to be productive. It's not a sustainable way to live. And the solution to this is that instead of thinking that you personally, or me personally, we're going to try harder, the answer is that we think in terms of systems. And that brings us on to mistake number 4, which is to treat ourselves as humans. It's going to sound weird, but I think it's a mistake to treat ourselves as people, and we should in fact think of ourselves as systems when it comes to procrastination if we're trying to overcome procrastination. What do I mean by this? When we think of ourselves as humans, we think, oh, as a human, I can just put in more effort. I can just put in more time. I can just be more disciplined. And we have all this stuff where we, in a way, put this expectation on ourselves that we are going to do more of the thing. Whereas if we don't think of ourselves as humans, and instead we think of ourselves as machines,
I'm a cybernetic organism,
or systems, it means that you can't just make a computer work twice as fast without changing something about the code, without changing something about the system that it's operating in. And so when I'm struggling with procrastination, let's say, I've got this 2-hour block to go to the gym, or 1-hour block to go to the gym, and I'm not going to the gym. I just need to do it. That's not the right approach. The right approach is, at least I found, is to think, okay, what is the system that I can design around this to make it more likely that I'm going to do it? Because I'm not a human who can apply more effort. I'm a system who, if the coding of the system changes, I can do the thing. So when it comes to the gym, for example, finding a gym that's closer to me, finding a gym that I enjoy going to, finding a personal trainer, finding an accountability buddy like Gordon, my videographer, who's also my gym buddy, to be like, right, we're going to go to the gym at 7:30 tomorrow. Finding a way to track my workouts. I use an app called Strong, and then I share photos of that, screenshots of that on my Instagram, which encourages me to keep on doing it. I have a clear plan. I know what I'm doing when I go to the gym. These are all systems that you can put in place that I found helpful for putting in place. I still don't go to the gym very often, but the systems help and help reduce my procrastination. I never think, I just need to try harder and just be more disciplined and just go to the gym, because I know that's not a sustainable way of kind of actually doing this thing that I know I want to do, that I know I've made the time for, but that I seem to be procrastinating from. So moral of the story is think of yourself as a system, not as a human. Try and design a system that makes it way easier for you to do the thing and not procrastinate from it, rather than thinking that you just need to try harder, you just need to be more disciplined. The final mistake that we as procrastinators tend to make, that I fall into myself a lot, is trying to push the boulder up the hill. What do I mean by this? If we are trying to do something that we fundamentally don't really want to do, where it's not energizing for us, it's not enjoyable, it's not fun, it's not interesting, it doesn't feel meaningful, but we think we have to do it or we should do it anyway, that's like pushing a boulder up the hill. It's very easy to procrastinate from things that we find are really boring, really de-energizing, really draining, really pointless. And I think the mistake is in thinking, okay, this thing is just boring by default. Sometimes work is just bad. This subject I have to get through, it is just intrinsically boring. There's nothing I can do about it. I just need to force myself to do it. That's pushing the boulder up the hill. It works some of the time, but it's not a source of sustainable motivation, and it's not a source for sustainable productivity whereby we can get things done while also having fun and living a nice life. The solution that I found is whenever I find myself thinking, this thing is just really boring and I just need to do it. Number one, I think in terms of systems, and number two, I think, how can I find a way to make the thing energizing? What can I tweak about either the way I'm approaching the thing or about the task itself that will help it regenerate my energy rather than drain my energy? What can I do to make this thing more enjoyable? One simple tip, well, I guess it's not particularly simple, is the idea of gamification. And if you want to hear more about the idea of gamification, I've got this video over here, which is how I turn my life into a video game, which is 8 principles, the Octalysis framework for how to make anything that you have to do that's like boring as hell more fun by turning it into a game with some specific principles. So that'll be this video right over here. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.